Hello, everyone. I'm Jonathan, co-founder and CTO of Deselect. I'm just going to give everyone a minute to join the webinar. Alrighty, folks. Welcome, everyone. Let's get started. Thanks for joining. Today, I want to talk about winning the inbox through two releases that we did through two new features that we built, one in Deselect segment, one in Deselect engage, and I want to show you those today. I'm pretty excited. This webinar won't take too long. Just want to show you these things and answer any questions that you may have. So let's kick it off. So first, the agenda for today. I'll do a quick intro, then I'll show you the two features that I was talking about. Both, I'll be doing a live demo. There will be time for Q&A. Actually, as soon as you have any questions, just feel free to post them into the chat and I'll address them whenever I can. And for those who can stay until the end, we have a little surprise. There's something cool that we're working on, and we want to give you guys a sneak peek. Hang on till the end for that. All right, so just in 30 seconds, for those who don't know Deselect, so we offer a marketing optimization platform for Salesforce. So we have always tried to create a turnkey platform that you can just install and get value from immediately. We're focused on Marketing Cloud, and we have multiple applications available on the App Exchange. We're mainly serving customers mid-market and enterprise worldwide, but with a focus on Europe and the US. That's also where we have our headquarters. We work with companies like Deloitte, Merkle, Accenture, and so forth as partners. And we have key clients such as Volvo, Cornell University, Sanofi, John Lewis and Partners, A1 Telecom, and so forth. As I said, we have multiple products. We have Deselect segment, which is our drag and drop segmentation, which I'll be showing you one feature for today. We also have Deselect engage, which is our saturation control and campaign prioritization solution, which I'll be showing the other feature for. And lastly, we have Deselect search, which is a free extension that anyone can install for free. That helps you find anything you're looking for, basically, in Marketing Cloud engagement. Alrighty, so kicking it off immediately, we're calling this waterfall segmentation. This is something else than what the waterfall segments that we have, but let me explain. And I want to explain with a little example about a music library where we have people in there who can be fans of multiple artists. But before I go in there, I was just very curious, who is your favorite artist? If you can please, again, use the webinar chat to let me know who your favorite artist is. I'm just very curious. Foo Fighters. Awesome. Hans Zimmer. All right. So many countries. Milena, you'll still have to choose one. Linkin Park. All right. I'm just gonna wait for one more. I'm very curious. Right. That's nice. All right, Milena, keep on thinking. I'll continue with the webinar in the meantime. So look, I want to show you an example of a music database where you have people. Let's say it's a database consisting of multiple different sources. Let's say we have a list of people that are fans of Beyonce. We have a list of people that are fans of Taylor Swift, and we have a list of people that are a fan of Avicii, which would be my favorite artist out of all of these three. And so, of course, there can be an overlap, right? So you can be a fan of Beyonce and also like Taylor Swift. So let's say I want to do a segmentation where I want to make sure that I send to 100 Beyonce fans, 200 Taylor Swift fans, and 300 Avicii fans. Now, the tricky thing is if you do a normal segmentation where you're going to say, okay, I'm going to take 100 Beyonce fans, I have that here. I'm going to take 200 of my Taylor Swift fans, I'm having that here, and then in the end, I'm putting them all together. Then because of the overlap, as soon as I start doing the duplication, I may end up with less than 200 Taylor Swift fans, right? So in this example here, I would end up with, for example, 64. So, and the same with Avicii. So if you want to, if your aim is to reach 600 people and then you're applying this deduplication and you end up with, let's say, 500, you're not, reaching the audience that you're trying to reach. So that's why we built this this functionality that we call waterfall segmentation, which does the deduplication the moment we are selecting. So first we'll select the 100 Beyonce fans. That's easy. That doesn't change compared to the standard segmentation. But then for Taylor Swift, we're going to make sure that we get 200 Taylor Swift fans that are not Beyonce fans. And then lastly, we're going to get 300 Avicii fans that are not Taylor Swift fans and also not Beyonce fans. So that way we will end up with different unique groups of, and because of that, we will actually end up with 600 music fans in total, right? So let me quickly show you how you would do that in Deselect segment. So I'm in Deselect segment here, going to the segment that I built before. So here on the left, you can see we created 3 sections. You can consider this as sources, like there's 3 different selections that I'm making from a database. So I have the Avicii fans. So the data source here. Now, in this case, it's all coming from the same music lovers database, but it doesn't have to. It could be from different sources. But so for the Avicii fans, I'm filtering on where the favorite artist equals Avicii. And then similarly for the Swifties, I would have favorite artist Taylor Swift, and for the Beyonce fans, favorite artist equals Beyonce. Now, the way this works is these different selections, they're like being put together, right? So normally we will then have to go to tools here. We would go to source limiting, and this is where we can enable this new feature that we have created. So in this example here, I'm going to say, yes, I want to enable source limiting. So source limiting really means from these different segments, I want to put on a certain number of records that I want to select, but then I want to go one step further. I don't want to use the standard functionality where the deduplication could remove records, but I'm just going to apply this new waterfall segmentation functionality here. And that then allows me to say, okay, I want to get 100 Beyonce fans, I want to get 150 Swiftie fans, and 50 Avicii fans. The cool thing is you can also change the order here. So that way, you're going to make sure that we are first going to select Swifties and then Avicii fans and Beyonce fans. So why does this matter? Well, in case you don't have 100 Beyonce fans in total, you may actually end up with a lower number than 100. But if you do have more than 100 contacts that are not the Swifties and Avicii fans, then you're going to make sure that we actually hit the 100. All right, so the last thing that we need to identify here is what is the field that we're going to deduplicate on. So for these different lists, again, they could be coming from the same database, but could also be coming from different ones. We want to make sure that we identify one field that uniquely identifies a record. And in this case, that would be the email. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. And then when we run the preview, you can see that it looks something like this. So on the preview screen is where we run a query or selection. As you have selected it, this is where you can go see how many records you will have, see what the data format looks like, and so forth. You can always go back and make tweaks. But here it will clearly state, like, okay, from the different groups that you requested, this is how many records we have selected for each. And then in this case, we can see also what the total number of records is. And then for those who are into SQL, you can always go in here, show the SQL query, and you can see what the different SQL queries are that we execute as part of this functionality. So you can always double check or just learn a little bit more about how all of this works. Okay, so how would you actually use this, or why would you use this? Well, it's really to make segments that are mutually exclusive in a simple way, while getting the exact number of records that you are looking for, even with the duplication already applied. That's really the main thing. Okay, I see there are no questions yet in the chat, so I'll move on. But again, if you have any questions about this functionality or what I'm going to show you next, please type it in the chat and I'll get back to it when I can. Okay, so the next thing is engagement insights. So again, here, before I move on, I'm curious really to see if you even know this answer. So how many emails on average do you think your contacts are receiving per week from you, right? So basically, how many emails are you sending to your contacts on average per week, let's say over the last couple of months? So we have a poll coming up for the moment. You can all answer there. See, things are going quickly. Okay, I think most people have answered yes. All right, so we're gonna share the results here. So most people, 64% said between 1 and 3 emails per week, and then 36% said okay, between 3 and 5. All right, that makes sense. I think probably 2 or 3 is pretty average. Going up to 5 is already quite a bit, right? That's already like 1 email per workday. Definitely possible. It depends on your industry. But so what we were really curious about is what is the impact of sending more emails on the engagement? So what we did is we created graphs that do 2 things basically. First, we're going to create buckets of how many emails people are receiving per week on average. All right, so we have a bucket of 1 email per week, 2 emails per week, 3 emails, and so forth. And then going one step further is for each of those buckets, what are the engagement levels? So are people actually still reading or opening those emails that you are sending them? We built this into the select engage, which I'll show you. We are running this based on the data views that are available within Salesforce Marketing Cloud. They contain this data of opens, clicks, emails that are sent, and so forth. And then based on this, we do some advanced logic, and then we are able to build these. So let me jump to deselect engage. So I'm going to App Exchange, accessing deselect engage. So for those who haven't seen engage, so it really is a saturation control solution. So helping you manage how many messages you're sending to your contacts, trying not to send too many, but also not too few. And it also helps with planning. So what you can see here on the calendar overview is I have multiple campaigns planned in the future. And the different colors that you see are an indication of the saturation levels that we are expecting. So if a campaign is in the green, it means, okay, all is good. We are just going to send the message to everyone. If it is in the red, then it means that more than 50% of the people are going to be basically excluded by deselect engage because it's going to go over certain rules that you have configured. So you can configure rules like we never want to send more than 3 emails in a week. And you can also apply prioritization. So meaning, okay, if let's say somebody is scheduled to receive 4 emails in a week, but we only allow 3 emails in a week, then Engage will be looking forward on the calendar, seeing, okay, what else is coming up? What has somebody already received? And that way, it can prioritize the most important and most relevant emails for each contact. So with that out of the way, you have an idea of how deselect engage works. By the way, this integrates into Journey Builder, so that's how we are then able to, in real time, make decisions on whether or not to include somebody from a certain communication. But then switching to the dashboard, this is where you can see the results of your actual sends, where this is now a demo environment. If you would apply this in real life, you will see how many contacts got included or excluded on each of those sends. And this is where we introduced a new functionality. So this is where I can go to engagement metrics. And this is where we show those the two charts that I was referring to earlier. So here's an example of what we call the sending volume chart. So again, this is looking at the data, in this case, from the last 180 days. We can switch to different time frames as well. But here we put all our contacts into different buckets. And so, for example, the bucket here of 3 emails per week, that would be 35% of the total audience that we are emailing is receiving on average 3 emails per week from us over the last 180 days. So I guess this graph probably looks pretty realistic, pretty much in line with what people were saying here in the poll. So that's pretty interesting. And then moving to the engagement chart. So this is where you'll see that basically those same buckets, we kept the different buckets, but we made them all 100%. And then the 100% is going to be divided into different engagement levels that people are having. We said, okay, we're going to divide it into dead, low, medium, and high. So that means contacts that are not engaging with the emails at all, meaning not opening, not clicking on those emails. So, okay, that's going to be a certain percentage of, basically of every bucket. And then we divide the contacts where there's at least some level of engagement. We divide them into high, medium, low, where low is the bottom 25% of engagement, high is the top 25% of engagement. So that exact limit is going to be different per organization, but it's always going to be percentile based. So in this case, for example, what I can see here is that the contacts that I'm sending on average 1 email per week, they're having a pretty, a big percentage of the contacts are like highly engaged with them. And also still a big group that's medium engaged. But as we go more to the right, like the higher the sending volume is becoming, the bigger basically the dead or the low engagement is becoming as well. All right, so why is this useful? So it's really to help you get an insight into what is my sending volume in the first place. Many organizations don't know this. And it's to help you get started with certain rules. We have a lot of customers, like once they start using Engage, they have these questions like, okay, but what is actually a good sending volume, and what should be the rules that we configure? So I think it's good to know where you're coming from and not to make too drastic changes when you start. And so that's why we created these things here. All right, I see there's a great question here from Elena. Do you have a way of removing auto openings and spam filter bot clicks from the statistics? Unfortunately, no. We are dependent here on the data that Marketing Cloud engagement provides us. It's my understanding that it doesn't really filter the auto openings, and I'm also not aware of a way of like removing spam filter bot clicks. But it's an interesting question. So if anyone here on the group chat knows like how it would be possible to remove those, that'd be interesting. We can talk about it. All right. And then question from Teresa, does the engagement chart only show the send via Journey Builder, or does it include the metrics for Email Studio? So as this data is coming from the send data view, it actually includes all sends happening in Marketing Cloud. So not only the Journey Builder ones. Also, it's not only the ones that are sent through or that have been using Engage. It's from all of the sends happening within one business unit. Okay, cool. So yeah, again, why is this relevant? Giving you some insight into data that we all have into in our Marketing Cloud environments. Not that straightforward to actually make this kind of graph and get that insight. And it's to help you identify what is my sending volume, and especially what is the relationship with my engagement, and is there like a drop-off point that's clearly stating like at a certain volume people just stop reading the email, so then you're better off managing that email frequency better for those contacts to really avoid the subscriber fatigue. Okay. So as the takeaways for today, we first talked about the waterfall segmentation. So again, that's what you would use if you need to create mutually exclusive segments that have an exact size. Exactly. And this is a feature that's available in Deselect segment. By the way, Deselect segment also has a free version. If you want to try it out on the App Exchange, you can just install it for free. This specific feature is actually not included in that free edition, but feel free to get started there. And we're also happy to give you a demo in more depth about this waterfall segmentation feature. And then the other thing I showed you today is the engagement insights, the two graphs where you can see one, the volume, how many emails are you sending in different brackets, and then also what is the relationship with the engagement levels that people are having on those different sending volumes. And that's available within Deselect Engage. All right, we already had some questions. Are there any other questions that I can answer?
There's a couple questions in the Q&A portion of the webinar, but we just have one coming in from chat as well. Does Einstein features help you to reach any data you showed?
Does Einstein feature help you reach any data you showed? Not sure. Peter, is there a specific Einstein feature that you're referring to? I know multiple Einstein features that use it. For example, send time optimization would look at opens and clicks, I assume, mostly opens, but it doesn't tell, but it is a black box other than that, right? So it doesn't show you how exactly this processing is based on machine learning. So it will not help you take any conclusions. It will not show on average is best to send at a time or those kind of things. So not that I know.
Another question that was submitted was, with the waterfall segments, how does that work when you're using different sources?
Right. So it doesn't matter. So in the example that I showed today, you have one database, let's say, where one contact can exist multiple times. And, that way we're all selecting from the same database. But this could be also from completely different lists, completely different sources. You can still blend them together as long as there is one field that uniquely identifies a contact, like the email or a contact key.
And then the other question that was asked is, how can the insights from the graphs be used to define my saturation control strategy?
Yeah. So I think it's really one as a starting point to strive towards a volume that's probably a bit lower than what you're currently doing, but like I wouldn't suddenly do like one email per week if you're currently doing 5. And then also looking at the engagement levels and how that goes up or down depending on the volume will probably help you identify like, okay, as soon as I start sending, let's say, more than 5 emails a week, then people just stop reading it. So then it just makes sense to send less. And then I see another question in the chat. How is this different from Marketing Cloud personalization? Or is this Deselect method of personalization? So Engage is purely about the sending volume and will help basically remove people from certain sends based on prioritization, based on what it knows is the most relevant for the segments, and then the rules that you have configured. So I don't know what exactly you're referring to with Marketing Cloud personalization. If that is like creating different content blocks for different contacts, or like if you're visiting the website, then it will show, let's say, different related products depending on, previous history, previous purchases, for example. I think that's quite different, right? That's more about the content in those campaigns. Engage is more about the volume of the sensor. Like the way we like to compare it sometimes is it's the mission control, like on an airport, right? So on an airport, there's a mission control, making sure that you're not sending too many planes all at once. Like you cannot all land and take off at the same time. So it's that kind of like overarching mission control. because we notice that as there are especially larger organizations where there's more marketers that all have their own priorities, campaigns to do, like different products to promote and so forth, there's a big overlap in the contacts that they're in the end trying to reach. But as long as you don't, but if you then don't have some kind of a mechanism to make sure that this is all going in a controlled way, it's possible that you end up sending 5 emails to one contact in one day. And that's definitely something you want to avoid. Does it answer the question, or is there anything else you wanted to know about personalization? All right, you're welcome. Josh, are there any other questions that made it to the QA section?
That was the only 2 I saw in the QA section and then the chat.
Yeah. All right, cool. Then I think we covered it all. As promised, there was one last thing that I wanted to show you all. That's a little surprise. So Deselect is currently working on a new product. It's going to be called Deselect Compose. And our goal is to help you write campaign content faster with AI. We notice that many marketers do actually want to do more personalization, but the bottleneck is the content creation. So, for example, many marketers would send an email to, let's say, 5 different segments. And they are like, yeah, I know that ideally I would just have 5 different variants of my email, tweaked to what would resonate with those 5 different segments. It's just the resources are not there, or the time is not there to go through the whole process with these different variants that have to be approved and tested and QA'd and so forth. So to help with that, we created a solution where you say, okay, this is the campaign I'm trying to create. These are the different segments that I'm trying to reach, and it will automatically create different variants of your messaging for those different segments. And then you can still, of course, go in and review, approve, iterate on what has been created. But this way, it will help you create those different variants, which otherwise you would just not have the time to create. This is all going to integrate very nicely into Marketing Cloud. By the way, we're looking at both Marketing Cloud Engagement and Marketing Cloud on Core here, where it's going to be able to basically save those different variants of your email directly in the content library on Marketing Cloud, so it's ready to go for you to send out. We currently have a waiting list, and you can join the waiting list at deselect.com/compose. You can find a bit more information about how it's going to work. You can see a few early snapshots, but we are definitely working on creating a super sexy UI. But feel free to go over there and already sign up for the waitlist, and then we'll be in touch soon. And you can be one of the early users to try out this new product. All right, I see we got one last question from Malena. So about the contacts that are scheduled for, let's say, 5 emails on the same day, can they be queued for another day rather than be removed from the segmentation? Yes, definitely. It's a great question, and it's a great use case indeed. We do have a customer. I think I can share the name. Brain Tumor Charity. They're from the UK. They are a non-profit, and their goal is to raise money. And they said that since they have been using Engage, they actually have been able to raise more money. And the way they do it is they don't exclude people from communications, but they put in basically, they use it as a queuing mechanism or a throttling mechanism. So what you can do in Journey Builder is if you have this journey where basically Deselect Engage excludes the contact, you can put in a wait component, right? So let's say wait 2 days, and then it's going to reevaluate. So you can do this retry 2-3 times, how many times you want. The wait time in between, also you can choose how long it should wait in between. And that way, indeed, you can just send the same volume, more or less, just better spread out, which your subscribers will definitely appreciate. Okay, you're welcome, Elena. All right, so one last time, Deselect Compose is going to help you write your campaign content easily for different segments. So the content will be personalized for those different segments. So for example, if you're sending an email to teenagers and you also want to, let's say, inform elderly people, you can just create one campaign briefing and say, I'm going to be reaching youngsters plus elderly people, and the emails will be completely different. They will be auto-written. Again, of course, you can still review, approve, or tweak, ask the AI for iterations, or just make changes yourselves. It will also become smarter over time. You can upload your branding guidelines. You can upload previous messaging so that it understands what is the tone of voice, what are the rules that it should communication will be as good or better as if it was written by a human. So if you're interested in this, please reach out, deselect.com/compose. There's a form over there. We're looking forward to seeing you there because we're eager to launch this product, and we're eager to get feedback on what we're building. All right, I think that was it from my end. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to to post them still in the chat or send us an email, hello@dselect.com. You can reach us there. If you have any questions about what I showed you today or our products in general, feel free to reach out and we'll be happy to be in touch. And with that, thank you everyone for attending. Have a good day and enjoy listening to Avicii or any other music that you like. Bye-bye.